he assigns Yuri to do a program with us, like to represent like Eros love, which is sexual love. And Yuri has no idea how to basically embody and represent Eros because he's like, I don't get it. Like, and then he goes like on a whole like little mini journey of like, what is Eros to me? Like, what is it to me? And then he's like, "Ah, I'll just think of my favorite food, katsudon. Like that's it. That's my sexual love right there. That food." And I'm just like, oh, Yuri, you don't know that you're ace, do you?
Welcome back to Ace Chat. I am Marissa, and today I am delighted to be sitting down with Crystal, who's going to be talking with me a little about culture and how it intersects with asexuality, especially in terms of this more machismo sort of expectations and overall lifestyle. So, thank you for joining me today, Crystal.
Yep, I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy for you to be here too, because you have two cute cats that we were talking about before this even started. I'm also excited to talk to you about asexuality, but I just think the people need to know you have two really cute cats.
Yes, a very important fact.
The most important fact.
Only
But I'd
fact.
say maybe the second, third most important fact is that you do identify as ace. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little about how you realized you were ace and what it means to you to be asexual.
All right, time for all the TMI stuff. When I was in high school, like that's when a lot of people are like really talking about sex more often, and more people are actually doing it with their significant others. So I had like this like major crush, like in love, kind of like with this guy, but then I didn't know how to get his attention, so I just like eventually we ended up having sex because I thought that's the only way you can get a guy to really pay attention to you and like develop feelings for you. I planned to confess my feelings afterwards, but he ended up telling me like, "Oh, I'm going to go back with my ex." So that was a major blow to me.
Oh. I totally understand how that happened though, because yeah, romance and love and sex are so intertwined in just every depiction of like you can't have one without the other if you're watching a movie or if you're even just hearing a friend talk about it. Like they just are so linked in a way that's not true, right? Like obviously these things can be separated, but I think there's just this common belief that if you really love someone, you're gonna have sex with them because that's how you show that you love them.
Yeah, especially like how I was raised. I was raised with like novelas. So it was all like passionate, sexy, like all that sex and stuff like that. So I was raised very much like that in a very like sensual, sexual love. So as growing up, like that's how I viewed it. Like you can't separate it. Like that's the goal. Well, not the goal, but like that's like the process. Like you like somebody, sex time. That's how I was raised, basically, subconsciously, I guess, not
So
on
you
purpose.
actually mentioned too this idea that there was maybe more of this, trying to think of how to phrase it, I guess this male dominated sort of viewpoint when it came to sex and relationships. And I was wondering if you could talk a little about what it was like growing up in this environment where you kind of felt like not only was sex expected, but it was kind of on the woman to give in to these desires to appease their husband or boyfriend or etc.
Yeah, like I didn't grow up like in a like I've seen stricter families with like the machismo like mentality in it. Like luckily I wasn't raised as strictly as other people, but I still had like the undertones of it. Like I have two other siblings, one older and one younger, and they're both boys. So I'm the only girl. So in a Mexican household, if you're a girl, you're basically expected to like, be like the housemaker, the one who always cleans the house, always cooks, takes care of everybody. Um, I don't really get as much freedom as my brothers do. Like they could be out whenever, go wherever. But I'm expected to be home at a certain time. I'm not really allowed to go out and do stuff, which I thought was very unfair because just because I'm a girl, like that doesn't mean that I deserve anything less than my brothers deserve.
So, have you actually come out to your family then?
Yeah. Actually, I came out to my mom again, just recently because I was at her house because like my parents are divorced, so I was at her house and I told her about the I showed her the Instagram post that you had done with my interview. Um, and as she was reading it, like I was trying to explain to her what asexuality was more because I have told her a like of it, but this time I went into more detail of it. And as she was reading her my interview and she googled more about asexuality, she was like, "Oh, this can't be me. I love sex too much." And I was like, "Mom, please."
That's great, though, that she actually looked it up more. So, would you say that generally your family has been supportive since you've come out?
Yes and no. Like even though my mom looked into it more and she read the interview, she still said like, "I think you've just been disappointed in love and you just need to like find somebody."
Oh.
And I'm just like, "Oh, there it is."
Do you think that relates back to this idea of just the expectations that she had for you and your entire family with this link between sex and love and romance and etc.?
Yeah, because after like the first time with this boy, like I came into like a long-term relationship like over a year with this guy who like we were very sexually active, but he cheated on me the entire relationship. But I didn't leave because I just like kind of ramped up like the sex because I was like, okay, I'm losing his affection and his attention. Like I need to keep it somehow. So I only like I would use like I would ramp up like the sex that we would have because I'm like I don't want to lose his affection or attention when I should have just left the relationship like as soon as I found out he was cheating, but I didn't.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to unpack with that though.
Oh my
Because
god.
Well, yeah, because first, like, people don't, I mean, that just happens, right? Like, people are cheated on and they just don't leave because you find this person and you think they're still worth it. You think, like, oh, it was just one time, etc. So, totally think, like, don't feel bad about that.
No.
um, I think a lot of people have done that. But I'm sure with you, there was another element too where it was kind of like, still trying to figure out your sexuality, still trying to figure out what you want to do within relationships. So to have all of that packed in with this person hurting you in that way, I'm sure it just made it harder to know what to do because I'm just speaking from my own experience. I know like the idea of trying to start another relationship, trying to get back into dating, when it's hard to find someone who is willing to understand what you want and don't want, which I don't know if this person even was, but like when but just that idea of trying to go back out again, it's kind of scary because you have all these other obstacles that people who are allosexual maybe don't.
Yeah, like at the time I didn't realize that I was ace. I just knew that like for me like from the very beginning like with the first guy, like I was never really comfortable with sex. Like it was just something that I knew like had to happen. Like in my mind, like I viewed it as something that had to happen in a relationship. I was very young and stuff, but I felt that I had to do this in order to because I was like, okay, relationships always have, I've always seen that they always have sex. So like that's something that I have to do. But doing it, I always felt very awkward, and I just like I'm like, oh God, where do I look? And it's just like, oh God, what do I do? Like it's just so uncomfortable. Like I'm just very awkward, and like I'm an awkward person in general. But I feel like it's so uncomfortable like during sex, and I'm like, oh God, like can we just like skip this part? Like, do we have to do this? But I would never bring up my concerns or these thoughts to my partners because I felt that it would hurt their ego. Like I don't want to hurt them, because then if I bring this up, they'll just leave me, or they'll just like cheat on me. So I never brought this up any of my sexual partners. None of them know that I had these thoughts. So if they ever come across this, they'll know.
But it's so crappy that you felt like this person who was supposed to be so close to you and share so much with you, you couldn't tell them about this big facet of yourself. And so I am now wondering, how do you feel about relationships today? What are you looking for in one? Basically, just how have you evolved in terms of what you're willing, as much as you want to talk about, what you're willing to participate in, and what's your kind of hard nose?
For me, dating, like I'm very open to the idea of dating. Like I mentioned, like I'm panromantic, so I'm open to like any relationship with anybody. Like I'm fine with like kissing, cuddling, like all that. It's just that sex, I'm just like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know if, because I haven't been in a relationship in several years, and like I've never been in a relationship where I've been out to my partner as ace. Like I haven't dated since that guy, mainly because pandemic also makes it very hard to date. Um,
Right.
yeah, so I want to date, but I haven't really experienced that. Like, okay, I'm ace. Like these are my hard nose. Like I don't know what I'm comfortable in, because I have come out to myself as ace, but I've never had the opportunity to see how it would be in a relationship.
And hopefully that would be something you could talk about or talk through with your partner anyway. I mean, it's so funny because I know I'm the one who asked the question, but I feel like with ace people, there is this expectation where it's like, I'm cool with this, not this, and I'm going to tell my partner up front. But it's like a lot of people don't know what they're cool with until they're in that relationship and they've tried things with people or had the discussion where they said, well, I actually don't even want to try it. So it's kind of weird, but I feel like ace people are just expected to come in with those hard nose and those clear boundaries, I guess. And I'm not entirely sure why that is.
I mean, I feel like it contributes to like any sexuality. Like, also, like if like bringing it to the machismo, like your men are supposed to be like these dominating guys. Their technique has to be, like French, like chef's kiss, like wow, like they need to be experts. And I'm like, oh god. Like in reality, like everybody has to start off somewhere, and nobody really knows what they're doing. So I feel like it's really unfair that aces are supposed to, like, okay guys, you're ace, like you're not supposed to want sex, right? And I'm just like, that's not exactly how it works, but I don't have the patience to talk to you if you're not willing to learn.
That's such a good point, though, that, yeah, there's definitely expectations on other sexualities. I feel like the expectations, I'll be honest, I'm still not over you saying chef's kiss sex, and that cracks me up. Um, but yeah, it's like we're expected to know what we want and don't want. Whereas I think heterosexuality, there's this expectation of like gender roles and how just the chef's kiss, and also just like this submissive, dominant sort of uh, binary, honestly. And it's weird because obviously that's not true of, I'd go so far as to say most people. Most people don't just fall into these gender roles. And if they do, there's still like variation in what they're comfortable with, what they want, etc. So going back to this idea of culture again, I'm wondering how your family, friends, etc., have reacted to you being panromantic specifically, since this is getting into the queerness of asexuality, right? Because asexuality is, I think 99% of us agree, part of the LGBTQIA community. And but then you're also panromantic, which is like part of it,
An
like
extra layer.
right. So that one is like, I guess people argue whether bi and pan even are too. We need, as a queer community, we need to do some work and be more inclusive. But my point is just at least people have heard these terms more. So how have people reacted to you being pan romantic specifically?
Yeah, I didn't know what uh panromantic was. I learned that way later. I was like, oh god, there's difference from sexual and romantic. Oh god, more terms. I had come out as bi to my mom like right after the Super Bowl, like I think like, back when I was a freshman in high school. So I came out to her. She did not take my none of my parents took that very well. We got into a lot of fights, like me trying to get them to understand what it meant. Their big thing was like, oh, you'll never have kids if you like end up with a woman. And I'm like, well, there's ways, but like I didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. My dad even like forgets that I'm into girls. Like he'll sometimes be like, when you end up with a guy, and I'm like, or he'll be like, I need to find a girlfriend. I'm like, same. And he'll be like, oh yeah, you're also into them. They're more open to it now. They're okay with it now. They understand it more. But like I said, like I think they're more open to it because they haven't seen me date a girl yet. I mean, they've seen me like, flirt with girls and stuff, but they haven't seen me how I am in a relationship with a girl. But who knows? But they're more open to it now. They weren't in the beginning, but luckily they're okay with it.
Well, and hopefully, yeah, it's partially a time thing, partially an exposure thing that one day you bring someone around and it's just like, oh, yep, they're here now and that's a good thing.
Mhm.
That's got to be and that's a unique issue though, I think. This idea of trying to be yourself around your family when it just isn't something that it's just not something normalized within that environment, be it because of culture, religion, etc., etc. Especially because obviously there are so many good things about family and culture and etc., etc. But just this idea that you want to be your truest self around the people who matter to you, but sometimes that truest self is someone that they don't expect or understand. So I think the fact that they're at least trying and they're making progress, I mean, progress is progress. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's all good. So on this topic that we've been discussing, what advice would you give to someone who is growing up in, be it a Mexican American household, be it just some sort of household where the culture, again, be it religious, ethnic, racial, something gendered, whatever it is, where it doesn't make space, I guess, for their identity, or I don't want to say make space, it doesn't fully acknowledge or understand their identity. What advice would you give to them for coming out, for learning to embrace who they are, in spite of the fact that there are these outside pressures, these things they grew up with that are maybe confusing them or telling them that what they're feeling is not normal?
That's a big question.
Yeah, we hardball it at the end.
um, mm, I guess I'm lucky that I had a mom who was kind of like also starting to like not really pay attention to the gender norms dictated by her culture and the way she was raised. So I was very lucky in that, but it's I still had my difficulties growing up as well with that mentality of like things that I had to do, things that I perceived that I had to do, that things that I had to follow. I had to basically be kind of subservient to males. Like you had to put the males' needs and wants over your own, and like that does a lot to your personality and like what you want to like. It basically puts your wants and needs like in the backseat, and you don't really get a chance to like kind of explore yourself because you're being pushed to the back. So you don't really have a chance to grow as a person, and that could do a lot of damage to you. um but I guess what really helped me growing up was I found like a really good friend group. Like I made a lot of friends over the years, lost a lot of friends over the years, but I genuinely like learned a lot from people around me, so I took those lessons to heart. I didn't just go through things and like just be like, oh, I guess this happened, time to keep going with life and not learn anything. No, I actively learned from the things that were around me, and had a lot of support from friends and um a close cousin as well. Like I was very lucky in that. that they allowed me to grow as a person and to allowed me to explore myself more than I would have even thought possible, because they encouraged me to think like, you're not limited to just being this one thing. You can do so much more. You can be so much more. So I want to kind of give the same advice to people. Like, it seems like you're just kind of like stuck in a box in what is expected of you, but you're so much more than the box that you're put in by your culture, by your family. And like, there is a lot of love for your family, but just because you love somebody doesn't mean that they're right. That's what I would say.
So, yeah, I think this idea that you have to be able to stand up for yourself and question even your loved ones is so significant, because I think we're all scared to do it. But how can we grow into ourselves and understand ourselves if we don't make these questions a part of that growth? And I don't think everyone can come out to their families, but those people who can, if you can have them be part of your journey and help them see that this is real, that you're valid, then they learn something and then they spread it on, and little by little we're all learning, and we're all just becoming better, more enriched human beings. Human beings. Wow. I said such This is where you and I differ. I try and say something poignant and I end with the word beans instead of beans.
I mean, like you said earlier, like, we're a community like based on food basically. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, this was entirely intentional. I just randomly say beans in the middle of conversations sometimes.
A valid food, you know. Beans are very important.
God, I actually just ate beans earlier. But anyway, thank you again so much for speaking with me today, Crystal, all about culture and just how we can become better, fuller versions of ourselves and take our families along on that journey. So I think you've had some really interesting insight to offer, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you, learning about you, your cats, and now I'm really hungry. So thank you again, Crystal.
Yeah, no problem. I will chat about cats anytime.
Excellent. Well, you heard it here first, everyone. If you want to learn more about cats, you should check in with Ace Chat. You should reach out to us at acechathats@gmail.com if you would like to schedule an interview or volunteer to help out. And once again, this has been Ace Chat, and thanks for chatting with us.